There's a man celebrating Halloween. James Joe Courtney. Just be the last thing before we start the thing, and we'll just put this phone away in our pocket so we don't get in trouble. Okay, see ya.
Because it marks the 5th anniversary of the film. That's why we're showing the movie tonight, and also because the awesome James Jude Courtney and Michael Myers. So we are so thrilled to have you guys out tonight, and I appreciate all of your support, especially from the folks who purchased tickets tonight. All of the proceeds from the ticket sales this evening are going to dun dun dun, Batavia United Way. So if by some crazy chance you want to donate more money to them, there are many opportunities to do so tonight. There is a silent auction out front by the extra stores that is going to go to 8 p.m., which you guys are going to be stuck in here. So because of that, we're giving you an opportunity. Oh, sorry. An opportunity to explain something else and give you another opportunity, which Anthony will talk about shortly. But without further ado, all right, I'm introducing Anthony Valverde and James Jude Courtney. All right, so we're also going to do a Q&A. So I'm going to do a list.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. You almost stole my thunder, but we're gonna try to get some more money out of you before we start this. I'll give you a little heads up. James was kind enough to bring one of the Michael Myers masks with him, and it is signed. So we will be auctioning that off when we're done with our Q&A. So sign up for Venmo now. If you don't have it, then we'll be using that shortly. And without further ado, we'll have a little chat. I'm honored to call you a friend. Thank you for being here. We're truly delighted to have you. And welcome to Magic Batavia.
Oh, I'm super excited to be here, man. These guys are doing it right. I mean, look at this. Who wouldn't want to sit and watch a movie in an environment like this, right? And an open bar, and food, and right?
So we're gonna hop right into it. You and I talked earlier, and I said I had read something I'd never heard about you, and I've known you quite a long time now. And I want to know how your cat was inspirational in your mannerisms for Michael Myers.
Wow, okay, okay. So I moved into an area in Los Angeles, and I met Parsifal, is his name, and he was a stray. And for half a block, there was not another cat, which tells you he was the baddest ass cat in the neighborhood, right? And the neighbors said you can't touch him, he won't go near you, but you know he'll hang around. And within a month, he was hanging by my side, and within like 2 or 3 months, he was sleeping in my bed and hanging on the couch with me at night. And so by that time, I fell in love with the guy, and I'm sitting up the stairs, on my porch. And these 4 big raccoons come walking up the driveway, and they were big. And his ears perk up. All of a sudden, boom, boom, he's down the stairs chasing the raccoons. They see him, they turn around, they haul ass. And I'm like, oh, damn it, this is gonna be a big ass vet bill. Oh my God. And next moment, the biggest one comes tearing around the corner again from the front wall. And he's right behind, just slashing away at his butt. And I'm like, and then they go behind the house, and I'm like, oh man. And then a few minutes later, he comes trotting back up, trots up, turns around, sits next to me and starts purring. And I was like, whoa, this is the baddest ass cat I've ever met. So I would watch him, and sometimes in the middle of the night, because he was a stray, sometimes in the middle of the night, he'd wake me up because he'd want to go out. And so I'd just go out on the porch and I'd watch him because there was a street light. And like in the house next to us had a big street light in the backyard, and the garage, the driveway, and everything. And I'd watch him hunt, and I'd watch him in the grass. And so if you look at my movement, when I'm walking, when I'm playing Michael Myers, as I'm moving, every fiber of my body is alive. My skin is alive, every muscle is alive. I'm moving my body in a way different than most people walk. That's why it's more of a gliding motion, because if you look at a cat in the grass, and they have prey ahead of them, they'll move and then they'll stop. And then they'll move a little more, and then they'll step. Every fiber of their body is alive and connected with their prey. And so when David Gordon Green cast me, he called me and said, "Hey Jimmy, let's talk about this character." I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "So I really see you moving like a cat." And I was like, "Well, interestingly enough, my cat Parzival is sitting in my lap right now, and I've studied his movements." He goes, "Good enough, we're good. Okay, so anyways, we're gonna start, in October," and the conversation went on. So I think cats are the perfect hunting, killing machines, and I'll go a bit further. So I've had people say to me like, "Oh, Michael Myers, the shape is evil incarnate." I don't see it that way. See, you guys are looking at 3-dimensional stuff. I'm looking at 5-dimensional stuff. So my character and my experience living this character is outside of right or wrong, black or white, up and down. You don't judge a cat for killing a mouse. That's what a cat does. So why would you judge Michael Myers for killing human beings, right?
I don't know what to answer that one, but okay. So speaking of David calling you about the cat movements and so on, I think some of us know, some of us don't. How did you become Michael Myers?
Us. So I, lived and worked in Los Angeles for 35 years. And at a certain point, I was like, okay, I really need to focus on writing and producing my own films. I spent so much time working for other people, and I'd written screenplays, but I could only put so much energy into getting these films made because I was working, which is a blessing, and I'm so grateful for all the experiences I've had. But so what I decided to do, I have 6 younger brothers. I have like 14 nieces and nephews, and my nephews have all been state and national champion athletes, wrestling, soccer, rugby. And so I was like, I'm missing so much. I don't need to be here in Los Angeles paying these insane, everything, gas is $5 a gallon. And I've got a little bit of money, I can afford to live there, but, I needed to be around family. And those of us who were blessed enough to have family, that it's really important. So I decided to move back to South Carolina. I bought a little place. I worked to, build it out myself. I built a nice office for myself to write and get to work. And then I got a call from the man who stunt coordinated the Rob Zombie films, Ron Hutchinson, and he called me and said, "I've known this guy 30 years. I'd never worked as a stuntman for him. I'd only worked as an actor on films. He was a stunt coordinator, but we have a mutual best friend." And so he's like, "Hey, so we're making the next Halloween." I was like, "Hey, great, man, that's awesome. You're gonna have a blast." And he said, "Well, I read the script, and I called David Gordon Green and Danny McBride and Malek Akkad and Ryan Turek, and said, the script is different than any other I've ever read. You're going to need someone for Michael Myers who has really deep acting chops and is also a really good stuntman, and there's not many of those guys around." And I studied with Stella Adler, who trained Marlon Brando. I had a private coach in the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. I really worked hard at my acting. And as a stuntman, you've got to work hard at your craft, otherwise you end up with a broken neck or dead. And so David Gordon Green says, "Cool, so he's got to be 6'3", 200 pounds, and he's got to be in his 60s. Who do you know?" And there was only one guy. It was me. And so, as our Arab friends say, it was maktub. It was written in the book of life. I feel that I was meant to play this role, and I'm eternally grateful for it.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing story, and how Imagine started working with James is we truly share philosophies, and that's giving back. That's being part of a community that's doing better and not just taking. And James is we had an opportunity to have dinner last night, and it's at the core of what you believe in, and maybe you want to touch on how doing good for others really brings yourself joy, and I know Imagine and our teammates, it's in our core values that it does as well.
Well, I think there's two elements to this, the core values that we share. First is, of course, giving back to the community. Oddly enough, I watched the TED Talk on flying from, where was that last? Dallas. And it was about giving and how human beings, how important it is for human beings and how much joy we derive from giving. And they've done brain scans, like MRIs on people who, or was it CAT scans? One of the two. Anyways, on the joy of giving, and so it's such an integral part to living a successful life. And then I truly believe I'm a firm believer in karma. Like what goes around comes around. What you put out is what you get back. And so if we give, it's only going to make our lives more successful. And of course, then we get the joy of living a successful and happy life because we've given. But also in terms of business. So if like my brothers have owned 23 restaurants and bars. Again, I have 6 brothers, and they've done lots and lots of stuff. And they dedicated their businesses to paying their employees well, to giving them insurance, to like shutting down the restaurants in January and taking their employees on cruises. Some of these people had never left the city, let alone the state, let alone the country. But it came back to them in spades because they gave to their employees, they gave to the community, they gave, and it came back over and over and over again. And so, you look at this, so what these guys are creating, like this is my business, like making movies. I cannot make movies if someone doesn't go to these movies and buy a ticket. Like I can't do it. And so, and I'm producing a film right now, a $20 million film. It's a coming of age story of a high school soccer player. Like I could not do this if we couldn't look at the numbers. And I'm dealing with like bankers in Germany, UBS, Deutsche Bank, and Anthony's been kind enough to share all the metrics that they've used to build these theaters. And what we see is that people, we need to be together. We're community. We're pack animals. We're herd animals. You know what I mean? And when we watch a film together in an environment like this, the joy we feel when we feel joy, the fear we feel, the various emotions we feel when we feel it collectively in a big room like this, it's exponential in how it affects us, because the whole room is filled with that energy. And so for these guys to create, this is why, it's part of the reason why I'm here, aside from him being a friend, aside from being, but I really, and I think you mentioned Tom Hanks talking about this, right? This is super important for community, because then we get to walk out of a theater moved. And, so the Halloween films we made, everybody had a Halloween story. Somehow Halloween affected them. And we all told these stories over the days and weeks and months that we've worked together, because all 3 of these movies were made by the same people. We had the same camera crew, we had the same lighting crew, we had the same grips, of course the same actors, the directors. It was all the same people. And we were all touched by something that John Carpenter had created, that Nick Castle created as the Sheik, Jamie Lee Curtis in her first starring role. So, to me, this is really, really important, because what these guys have created and are creating successfully, and more successfully than the big chains like the AMC's and the region, whatever. This I think is one of the most important steps in my business for me as a filmmaker, to be able to know these people who are creating the experience for you guys, so that we can all have this communal experience.
Thank you. Means the world to us to have you here. One more question, and then Katrina will walk around with the mic to allow anybody who would like to ask a question. But I'm sure you get asked this often. What's it like to work with the wonderful Jamie Lee Curtis?
Oh my God, she's
Oscar winner now, right?
Oscar winning Jamie Lee Curtis. She's a poster child for an empowered woman, and I was raised by a powerful woman and a powerful father, and he was powerful enough to allow my mother to be a powerful woman. And Jamie Lee Curtis is one of the most intelligent, highly creative, generous, self-deprecating human beings in the world. She's a recovering alcoholic, drug addict. So she's deeply compassionate. She has an understanding of what it means to be deep and dark and feeling like you don't belong or you're not loved or appreciated. So her dedication to her art, to the people around her, and then to work with her, she fights like a wildcat. And at the end, you know, the end scene in Halloween Ends, you know, the finale, when we were going to begin to shoot that, we were on set, and I called her over, and we went off to the side, and we went beat by beat on what we were going to do, and we both had tears streaming down our cheeks. It was so deeply emotional. At one point, when they were doing prosthetics on my neck and resetting lights, and I was laying on the table and I couldn't move, I had my hand out, and she held my hand for like an hour. She just stood there with her eyes closed and held my hand. It was a love affair. It was a love affair between our characters. And in our characters, because if any of you know the experience of acting, it's not make-believe, it's not pretend. In our being, it's absolutely 100% true, including the killing. You know, so it's 100% real. So the love affair between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode was insanely intense. And I mean, I say insanely for a very, you know, specific purpose. But it was a love affair. And so, you know, to have this woman and call her a friend is one thing. She and I both agreed that scene was the most powerful scene that either one of us had ever done together, or had ever done individually. And to have the opportunity to do it together is, wow, does it get any better than this? I don't know.
And I'll add, she is a tremendous supporter for theaters and the theatrical windows, and has been immensely supportive of us through COVID, and she's an amazing woman. So, anybody have a question? If you raise your hand, we'll send the mics over.
Oh, wow.
Hi there. I'm wondering what you thought.
Gordon Green gets to tell his story. I die as this character is not up to me. I liken making a film to playing on a football team, and I played football. So the number one rule for playing football is you've got to buy into the coach's program. If you can't buy into the coach's program, get out of the locker room, man. Go find another team. Because if you have any chance of winning a game, let alone winning a championship, you've got to buy into the coach's program. And so she and I agreed as we were talking about this that, look, right now it doesn't look like this is what we would do, but David Gordon Green is the coach. He's the director. He's the one who gets to make the choice. He saw something that maybe we didn't. I'm very pleased with the ending because within the parameter of what David Gordon Green correct. Now, as a football player, I would love to play every down. As an actor, I would love to be in every scene, but that wasn't the coach's call. So I'll just leave it with, I'm proud of the fact that we did what we did to the best of our ability. And David was happy with it, and Jamie was happy with it. So I'll say I'm happy with it too.
Gerd, I wish you lived.
Right?
Out of all the Halloween movies, which one is your favorite?
Of the three that I shot,
Yes.
it's all one movie. If you look at it, 2018 is the first act, Halloween Kills is the second act, and Halloween Ends is the third act. So I have favorite moments, but it really is one movie. And so, and of course, for me, my favorite moment is the finale between Jamie and myself. I mean, there are countless beautiful moments that I got to experience, but that ending, that finale, again, was the powerful thing I've ever done in my life as a professional. And it's right up there at the top as a human being too. So, and I think it's really beautiful that, you know, David and Danny McBride wrote stories that were, you know, so prescient, you know. In 2018, you know, Jamie's dealing with addiction. She's dealing with familial issues. She's dealing with mental illness. In Halloween Kills, we're dealing with mob mentality, and that was before January 6th. But we're dealing with what happens when a mob of people, good people, normal, everyday people, get caught up and carried away and become vicious and violent, and Halloween ends. There was a scene in the original ending of Halloween Ends where at the very end, not unlike Halloween 3, they were going to start mass producing these masks. And so if you look at the mythology of these masks containing this evil, this presence of something that takes over a being, then you look at the world today and you look at how good people, our friends, our family, can all of a sudden have ideas or ideations of the way things should be, or feel anger and fear, or get violent over things that, and when you look at people we love and go, wow, 98% of you is like, I know you, but what happened to this part of you? And that was part of that story with the mask, is it was going to take over. But David decided that wasn't the way it needed to be. So, but I think viewing it as one movie is really the way to look at it. You like part 2? Okay, lots of people do. It was hot in there. Everybody else was wearing oxygen masks. I wasn't. I think I smoked about 5 packs of cigarettes a day in that, the equivalent of 5 packs of cigarettes a day in there. It was rough. Yeah. All right.
Another question. Oh, there you go.
Hi, my name's Chris. This is my wife, Kate. She did not want me to embarrass her, so I'm sorry if this is
Hi, Kate. I hope you're embarrassed.
All right, everyone has to say hi, Kate.
Hi,
This is just my fandom coming through. Like, you play such an iconic role. I mean, I've been on the earth, 40 plus years, and
You don't look a day overnight.
thank you. But come around a certain date, October 31st, and realize, like, the mask, the iconic mask, everybody's into it still. Do you enjoy Halloween, the actual date? Do you get dressed up? Do you meet kids at the door with candy? I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am.
That would be amazing.
Well, because I like to kill the little bastards. No, I don't dress up for Halloween, or I've made a living wearing costumes. So dressing up in a costume for me, frankly, if there's not a very large paycheck involved, I'm not interested. But Halloween itself, I'm engaged to a beautiful woman now, but prior to that,
Everyone say hi, Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
yeah,
Popcorn good?
English people don't know how to eat popcorn. So I've lived a very, I traveled a lot. I was single my whole life, and so I was never home for Halloween. I go to parties. I have been to costume parties, and usually Captain Morgan pirate suits, but yeah. But the thing is, wearing costumes, especially period pieces, they change you, right? And especially if you've developed a character and then you put that costume on, it completely changes who you are. It changes your DNA. And so for me, putting on a costume was way different. I will never, ever, I have the 3 hero masks. In other words, the mask I wore every day. We had special masks for me to wear in the fire because I had to be fire retardant, special masks for stunt doubles, and I was only doubled in one, the Stairfall in 2018, and jumping off the SUV in Halloween Kills. I have those masks. People have asked me to wear them, or wear a it'll never happen. It'll never happen. You don't want to be near me when I'm wearing that.
We all waiting for the kid that turns up at the door dressed as Michael Myers. That will be the moment.
Any other questions? Oh, here, one more.
I wish my dad would have been here.
What has been your favorite, small detail about playing Michael throughout all 3 films that you've done?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think the nuance of the character, because in order to there's a reason why a very talented person will take acting classes, and study with acting coaches. It's not, so if you're talented, and this happens to be your talent, and you fit a role by the way you look and the way you move, and you're inspired, you're gonna do it. The difficult part about being an actor is when you're not inspired, and that's a lot of the time. You know, if the dog died, if you're in a car crash, if you have an argument with your spouse, or there's a million things that can happen that can throw you off. That's when technique matters. And so the techniques that I've learned through the years, especially having worked with really, not only really talented coaches, but the very, very talented actors I've worked with, like Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan and Tom Cruise, and like the Sarah Marie Gellar, and like all these amazing, wonderful human beings. You learn every time you work, and what you learn, part of what you learn is nuance, because the nuance in these characters, and I won't tell you what those nuances are because they're mine, I own them, you know what I mean? But that's why I felt so engaged. Like every moment that I was in front of the camera, I had zero stress, zero anxiety. If I could live my life in the place that I feel that I was in front of that camera, I mean, the Dalai Lama would have to call me up for advice because I would just be so freaking chill. But I'm not, So, but a very good question, and I think that's the subtlety. I mean, the nuance is. Sarah and I were just talking about this with what Anthony and Paul have created here. Their attention to detail, the attention to detail, and that takes work and that takes focus. But that's the difference between a championship team and a has-been team. That's the difference between a successful movie and a mediocre movie. That's the successful between a successful business, a successful relationship. I mean, it's the time that we spend and the attention to detail and the nuance of what we do. And I particularly love that kind of challenge. I love being challenged to the degree where I have to go to the depth of my being to find perfection. And that being said, I hate watching myself on the screen. I hate it. I like I said, I'm never stressed when I work on a movie, but I have to go to premieres. I sweat bullets. I hate it because I'm going to judge myself. I'm going to sit there with my fingers like this, studying my every move and go, ooh, that sucked. I could do that, So, I mean, but I don't do that. I don't do what I do to see myself on the screen. I do what I do for the experience of doing what I do. These guys are lucky because they get to see it in the numbers. When they create something beautiful like this, they get to see, oh great, we've got X many people coming, and we got X many people, like enjoying this and coming back, and so. I don't think Anthony sweats bullets when he sees a theater full of people. I sweat bullets when I see myself.
Appreciate that. So attention to detail, I'm running very late, so this is a poor example of that. But if there's no more questions, I'm going to grab the mask. We're going to auction that off for Batavia United Way, all the proceeds. And James will take a photo with you. Take the mask. I'll grab it from you. So it's already signed by James, and he'll take a photo with you. Okay. So we're going to auction this off. Boy, this is pretty attractive.
Well, okay, it was form fit to my face. So either you think it's really ugly, in which case I'm gonna freaking kill you.
So, Batavia United Way, it's important. So get your wallets out, and where should we start? Nick, where do you think we should start? 200. 200. 200. 300. 400. 500. 600. 700. 800. 1,000. I love that. 1,100. 1,500. 1,600. 1,800. 2,000. 2,200. Now I'm getting excited.
I love this.
2,200. I'll make you a deal. We'll give you two if you both pay 2,200. 2,200. Two masks, 2,200 each. I have two. I can give you one, and he can have one. Go. Two masks, 2,200 each. Awesome. Thank you. thank you to a big thank you to James, and thank you all for coming this evening. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Woo!
My dad missed it.
That's incredible. Incredible. How incredible to see this guy.